A young maid risked everything to save her billionaire boss from a deadly trap. What she discovered shocked the entire city and proved that sometimes the people closest to us are the most dangerous. Hello friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? New York? London? Maybe Canada or Jamaica? We want to know. Sir, please, I'm begging you. Don't drink that coffee. Ethan Blake froze. His hand was already wrapped around the warm coffee cup, ready to lift it to his lips. He had been reading the morning newspaper, thinking about the business deals he needed to finish today. But now he stopped everything and looked up. Standing right next to his chair, shaking like a leaf in the wind, was Maya. She was the maid who worked in his house. Her hands were trembling so badly that the dusting cloth she was holding fell to the floor. Her eyes were wide and full of fear. Tears were running down her cheeks. "What did you say?" Ethan asked, his voice confused and surprised. Maya's lips were shaking. She could barely speak. "The coffee, sir. Please don't drink it. Something is very wrong." Ethan stared at her. In all the 3 years Maya had worked in his house, she had never once raised her voice. She was always quiet, always polite, always doing her job without saying much. She cleaned the floors, washed the dishes, and made sure everything in the huge mansion was perfect. Most of the time he barely noticed she was there. But right now she looked terrified. More terrified than he had ever seen anyone look in his entire life. "Maya, what on earth is going on?" Ethan asked again. His hand was still on the coffee cup, but he hadn't lifted it yet. Maya opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say another word, a sharp voice cut through the air like a knife. "What is the meaning of this?" Both Ethan and Maya turned their heads. Clara Blake was standing in the doorway between the kitchen and the dining room. She looked absolutely beautiful as always. Her long dark hair was perfectly styled. She wore an elegant white dress that probably cost more money than Maya made in a whole year. Her makeup was flawless, making her look like a movie star. But her eyes were cold and hard like ice. She walked slowly toward the dining table, her high heels clicking on the marble floor. Each step sounded like a warning. "I asked you a question, Maya," Clara said, her voice sweet but with something dangerous hiding underneath. "What exactly are you doing? Why are you shouting in my house?" Maya's whole body was shaking now. She took a step back, but she didn't run away. She looked up at Clara, then back at Ethan. "Ma'am, Maya stammered, trying to find the right words. "You what?" Clara's voice got sharper. She crossed her arms and raised one perfectly shaped eyebrow. "Have you lost your mind? How dare you interrupt my husband's breakfast and start screaming like a crazy person?" Ethan was still sitting at the table, looking back and forth between his wife and his maid. His coffee cup was getting cold in his hand. Something felt very, very wrong, but he couldn't figure out what. "Maya," Ethan said gently, "please tell me what's going on. Why don't you want me to drink my coffee?" Maya looked at him. She could see the kindness in his eyes, the same kindness he had always shown her. She remembered when her mother was sick last year, and she needed money for the hospital. She had been too afraid to ask, but somehow Mr. Blake found out. He came to her little room and handed her an envelope full of money. "Take care of your mother," he had said with a warm smile. "Family is the most important thing." That's when Maya knew she had to be brave. She had to tell the truth even if it meant losing her job. Even if nobody believed her. Maya took a deep breath. Her voice came out shaky, but she forced herself to speak clearly. "Sir, I saw your wife put something in your coffee. Something that wasn't supposed to be there." The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop on the floor. Ethan's mouth fell open. He slowly turned his head to look at his wife. Clara's face changed for just a second. Her eyes flashed with something dark and angry. But then, almost immediately, her expression shifted. Her mouth dropped open in shock. Her hand flew to her chest. Her eyes filled with tears. "What?" Clara gasped, her voice loud and full of hurt. How could you say such a horrible thing about me? Ethan, I can't believe this. This is outrageous." She walked quickly to Ethan and grabbed his arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into his suit jacket. "Darling, you can't possibly believe this nonsense, can you? I'm your wife. I love you. I would never ever hurt you." Clara's voice broke, and tears started rolling down her cheeks, running through her perfect makeup. Ethan looked confused and shocked. He stared at Maya, then at Clara, then back at Maya again. "Maya," he said slowly, "this is a very serious accusation. Are you absolutely sure about what you're saying?" Maya nodded quickly, her own tears still falling. "Yes, sir. I swear on my mother's life. I was in the kitchen earlier and I saw. You saw nothing. Clara suddenly screamed, her sweet voice disappearing completely. You lying, jealous little thief. Maya stepped back, frightened by the anger in Clara's voice. I'm not lying, ma'am, Maya whispered. Please, sir, you have to believe me. I saw a small bottle in the kitchen. And there was a message on her phone. A message? You were reading my private phone messages. Clara's voice got even louder. She turned to Ethan, her face red with fake anger. Did you hear that, Ethan? This maid has been spying on me. Going through my private things. Who knows what else she's been doing in our home? Clara started crying harder, covering her face with her hands. I can't believe this is happening. I've treated her so kindly, given her a job, a place to stay, and this is how she repays us? By making up evil lies. Ethan stood up from his chair. The coffee cup was still in his hand, forgotten. His face looked troubled and confused. Maya, he said, his voice becoming firmer, you need to explain yourself right now. Why would you say something like this? Do you have any proof? The bottle, sir. Maya said desperately, pointing toward the kitchen. There's a small bottle on the counter near the sink. It wasn't there yesterday. And the message on Mrs. Blake's phone said. Enough. Clara shouted. Then she turned to Ethan, her voice becoming soft and sad again. Darling, I've been keeping something from you. I didn't want to worry you, but I've caught Maya stealing from us several times over the past few weeks. What? Ethan looked shocked. No. Maya cried out. That's not true. I've never stolen anything in my life. Clara ignored her and continued talking to Ethan, her voice trembling with fake sadness. Small things at first. Some money from my purse. A piece of jewelry. I gave her chances, hoping she would stop. But now she's gone too far. She's trying to destroy our marriage because I think she's jealous of what we have. Ethan's face changed. He started looking at Maya differently, with doubt in his eyes. Maya, is this true? Have you been taking things? No, sir. Maya practically screamed, tears pouring down her face now. I swear on everything holy, I have never stolen from you. Mrs. Blake is lying. Please, you have to believe me. She put something in your coffee. If you drink it, something terrible will happen. But Ethan's face had already hardened. The kindness in his eyes was fading, replaced by disappointment and anger. Clara walked over to a small table near the window and pressed a button. Within seconds, 2 security guards came rushing into the dining room. Yes, Mrs. Blake? One of them asked. Clara pointed at Maya with a shaking hand. Please escort Maya to her room. Have her pack her belongings. She no longer works here. No, no, no. Maya cried, falling to her knees. Please, sir. Please listen to me. I'm telling you the truth. Your wife is trying to. That's enough, Maya. Ethan's voice boomed through the dining room, loud and final. I've heard enough of these crazy accusations. I'm deeply disappointed in you. After everything I've done for you, this is how you act. The security guards moved forward and gently took Maya by the arms, lifting her to her feet. Please, Maya sobbed, looking at Ethan one last time. Please don't drink that coffee. I'm begging you. Even if you don't believe me, even if you hate me, please just throw that coffee away. Please. But Ethan turned his back on her. Get her out of here, he said coldly. The guards started walking Maya toward the door. She was crying so hard she could barely see where she was going. Her legs felt weak and wobbly. I'm telling the truth, she screamed one final time as they pulled her out of the dining room. She's going to kill you. Please, sir. Please. Her voice echoed through the mansion as the guards led her up the stairs to pack her things. Maya sat on her small bed, staring at her suitcase. Her eyes were still red and puffy from crying. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The security guards had told her she had 30 minutes to pack everything and leave. 30 minutes. That's all the time she had to say goodbye to the place she had called home for 3 years. But Maya wasn't thinking about her belongings. She wasn't thinking about where she would go or how she would find another job. All she could think about was Mr. Blake. He was in danger. Real danger. And nobody believed her. Maya stood up and walked to her tiny window. From up here in the attic, she could see part of the mansion's beautiful garden below. She could also see the garage where Mr. Blake's big black car was parked. Think, Maya, think, she whispered to herself, wiping her tears away with the back of her hand. There has to be something you can do. Then she remembered something. Something important. The bottle in the kitchen. If she could just get that bottle and show it to someone, a doctor, the police, anyone, they would test it and see that she was telling the truth. Maya's heart started beating faster. That was it. That was her proof. But how could she get it? The guards were probably watching her. And Mrs. Blake was still downstairs. Maya took a deep breath. She had to try. Even if she got caught, even if things got worse, she had to try. Mr. Blake's life was more important than anything else. She quietly opened her door and peeked out into the hallway. It was empty. The guards must have gone back downstairs. Moving as quietly as a mouse, Maya tiptoed down the hallway toward the servants' staircase. This was the narrow staircase that the maids and cooks used to go up and down without being seen by the family. It led directly to the kitchen. Her heart was pounding so loudly she was sure everyone in the house could hear it. She held her breath and started going down the stairs one step at a time. Each stair seemed to creak louder than usual. Maya froze every time she heard a sound, pressing herself against the wall. Finally, she reached the bottom of the stairs. There was a small door that opened into the kitchen pantry. Maya pressed her ear against it, listening carefully. She could hear Clara's voice on the other side talking on the phone. "Yes, Mother, I know," Clara was saying, her voice annoyed. "That stupid maid almost ruined everything. No, don't worry. Ethan didn't drink it. I said don't worry. I have backup plans. He'll be dead by tonight and then everything he owns will be mine. Yes, all of it. The houses, the money, the companies, everything." Maya's blood ran cold. She had to cover her mouth with both hands to stop herself from gasping out loud. Mrs. Blake wasn't just trying to poison Mr. Blake once. She had backup plans. She was going to keep trying until she succeeded. Clara continued talking, her voice cruel and cold. "I've already prepared his evening tea. I'll add the poison to it during dinner. He always drinks his tea while watching the news. By the time the 8 o'clock news is over, he'll start feeling sick. By midnight he'll be dead. And everyone will think he had a heart attack. Rich men have heart attacks all the time. Stop worrying, Mother. This time, nothing will go wrong." Maya heard Clara's high heels clicking across the kitchen floor, moving away. A door opened and closed. She was gone. Now was Maya's chance. Maya slowly pushed open the pantry door and slipped into the kitchen. Her eyes quickly scanned the counter near the sink. The bottle. It was still there. She rushed over and grabbed it. It was small, made of dark glass with no label on it. Maya held it up to the light. There was still some clear liquid inside. She quickly tucked it into the pocket of her uniform. This was the proof she needed. But then Maya heard footsteps coming back. Clara was returning. Maya's eyes darted around frantically. Where could she hide? There was no time to run back to the pantry. She ducked down behind the kitchen island, making herself as small as possible. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. Clara walked back into the kitchen, still talking on her phone. "I have to go, Mother. Ethan will be leaving for his meeting soon. I need to make sure he doesn't suspect anything. Yes, I'll call you tonight after it's done. Goodbye." Maya heard Clara put her phone down on the counter. She was standing just a few feet away from where Maya was hiding. "Please don't look down," Maya prayed silently. "Please don't look down." Clara opened the refrigerator and took something out. Maya heard her opening cabinets and humming a cheerful tune, as if she hadn't just been planning her husband's murder. After what felt like forever, Clara finally left the kitchen. Maya waited, counting to 60 in her head. Then she carefully stood up and peeked around the island. The kitchen was empty. She ran as quietly as she could back to the pantry, through the door, and up the servants' staircase. She didn't stop running until she was back in her room. She quickly closed the door and locked it, breathing hard. Maya pulled the bottle out of her pocket and stared at it. This small bottle held the truth. This would prove she wasn't lying. But who would believe her? She was just a maid. Mrs. Blake was rich, beautiful, and powerful. She had already convinced Mr. Blake that Maya was a thief and a liar. Maya looked at the clock on her wall. The security guards would be back in 15 minutes to escort her out of the mansion. She had to act fast. Maya grabbed her old phone from her suitcase. It was a cheap phone, not like the expensive ones rich people had, but it could still make calls. She thought about calling the police. But would they listen to her? What if they believed Mrs. Blake instead? Then Maya remembered something. About a year ago, Mr. Blake had given a big donation to the city hospital. There was an article about it in the newspaper. Maya had cut it out and saved it because she was proud that her boss was such a good man. The article mentioned the name of the hospital director, Dr. Sarah Peterson. She was a smart woman who had thanked Mr. Blake personally for his generosity. Maybe, just maybe, Dr. Peterson would listen. Maya's hands were shaking as she searched for the hospital's phone number. She found it and dialed, pressing the phone to her ear. "City General Hospital, how may I help you?" a woman's voice answered. Please, I need to speak to Dr. Sarah Peterson. It's an emergency. Maya said, her voice desperate. Dr. Peterson is very busy. What is this regarding? Please, it's about Mr. Ethan Blake. His life is in danger. I have proof. Please, I'm begging you, let me talk to her. There was a pause. Hold on. Maya waited, her heart pounding. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, another voice came on the line. This is Dr. Peterson. Who am I speaking with? Dr. Peterson, my name is Maya. I worked as a maid for Mr. Ethan Blake. Please, you have to listen to me. His wife is trying to poison him. There was silence on the other end. Please, Maya continued, tears streaming down her face again. I know it sounds crazy, but I have a bottle. I took it from the kitchen. It's the poison she was going to use. If you can test it, you'll see I'm telling the truth. That's a very serious accusation, Dr. Peterson said slowly. Do you have any evidence besides this bottle? I heard her talking on the phone. She said she's going to poison his tea tonight. She said he'll be dead by midnight. She said everyone will think it's a heart attack. Please, Dr. Peterson, you have to help him. He's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. Dr. Peterson was quiet for a moment. Where are you right now? I'm still at the mansion, but they're kicking me out. I have maybe 10 minutes before the guards come to throw me out. Listen to me carefully, Dr. Peterson said, her voice becoming serious and urgent. Don't let anyone see that bottle. Hide it somewhere safe on your body. When you leave the mansion, go directly to City General Hospital. Come to the emergency entrance and ask for me by name. I'll meet you there. Do you understand? Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Maya sobbed with relief. And Maya? Be very careful. If what you're saying is true, you might be in danger too. The call ended just as Maya heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. The guards were coming. Maya quickly looked around her room. Where could she hide the bottle? They might search her suitcase. Her eyes fell on her old boots, the worn-out work boots she used for cleaning outside. They were too big for her feet, which is why she always wore thick socks with them. Maya grabbed one boot and tucked the bottle deep inside, pushing it all the way to the toe. Then she put the boot in her suitcase and covered it with her clothes. Someone knocked loudly on her door. Time's up. Open the door. Maya took one last look around her tiny room. This had been her home for 3 years. She had laughed here, cried here, dreamed here. But now she had to leave. And she had to make sure Mr. Blake survived the night. She picked up her suitcase, unlocked the door, and opened it. 2 security guards stood there, their faces stern and serious. Let's go, one of them said. Maya nodded and walked between them. They escorted her down the main staircase this time, the grand staircase with the beautiful carpet and the crystal chandelier overhead. As they reached the bottom, Maya saw Mr. Blake standing in the entrance hall. He was fixing his tie and getting ready to leave for his meeting. He looked up and saw her. For a moment their eyes met. Maya wanted to scream at him again. She wanted to fall on her knees and beg him to be careful. She wanted to tell him not to drink anything his wife gave him. But the words stuck in her throat. He had already made it clear he didn't believe her. Mr. Blake looked away first, his face cold and disappointed. Make sure she leaves the property, he told the guards without looking at Maya. Then he walked out the front door to his car. The guards continued walking Maya toward the back entrance, the door that servants used. As they passed through the hallway, Maya glanced toward the dining room. Clara was standing there, watching. When their eyes met, Clara smiled. It was a small, cruel smile that made Maya's skin crawl. That smile said, I won. You lost. But Maya knew something Clara didn't know. She had the bottle. She had proof. And she was going to save Mr. Blake, whether he believed her or not. The guards opened the back door and Maya stepped outside. The morning sun was bright and warm, but she felt cold all over. Back in the dining room, Clara and Ethan were alone. Clara wiped her eyes and took a deep, shaky breath. I'm so sorry you had to see that, darling. I should have fired her weeks ago when I first caught her stealing. Ethan didn't answer. He stood there, staring at the coffee cup still in his hand. Clara noticed him looking at it. Her heart started beating faster. Are you actually wondering if she was telling the truth? Clara asked, her voice shocked. Ethan looked up at his wife. Of course not. But why would she say something so crazy? Clara walked over and put her hand on his shoulder. Darling, some people become desperate when they're caught doing wrong. They make up wild stories to distract from their own crimes. It's sad, really? Ethan nodded slowly, but he still looked troubled. He set the coffee cup back down on the table. I need to get ready for my meeting, he said quietly. I'm already running late. Clara watched him walk toward the stairs, her jaw clenching. He hadn't drunk the coffee. Her entire plan was falling apart. She needed to think fast. Wait, darling. Clara called out, her voice sweet again. You look so stressed. At least take your coffee with you. You can drink it in the car on the way to your meeting. Ethan paused on the stairs. He looked back at the dining room at the coffee cup sitting there. I don't know, Clara. That whole situation upset me. I know, sweetheart. But you have such an important meeting today. You need to stay alert and focused. Please just take it. I made it especially for you. Something in her voice made Ethan turn around. He walked back to the table and picked up the cup. It was still warm. You're right, he said with a tired sigh. I can't let this ruin my day. I have too much work to do. Clara smiled, but inside, her heart was racing with excitement. That's my strong husband. Now go before you're even more late. Ethan took the coffee cup and walked out through the front door toward his car. Clara stood at the window watching him. She saw him get into his big black car. She saw him place the coffee cup in the cup holder. She saw the car start and begin driving down the long driveway. A slow, cold smile spread across her face. Goodbye, dear husband, she whispered to herself. Upstairs, Maya was in her tiny room, throwing her few belongings into an old suitcase. She was still crying, her whole body shaking with sobs. Through her small window, she saw Mr. Blake's car driving away from the mansion. Her heart sank even deeper. He was leaving. He was going to his meeting. And she hadn't been able to save him. But then Maya froze. A terrible thought struck her like lightning. What if Mrs. Blake didn't give up? What if she found another way to poison him? Maya's hands started shaking even worse. She had to do something. She had to warn someone. But before she could think of what to do, she heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs toward her room. The guards were coming to throw her out. In his car, Ethan was driving through the city streets, heading toward the tall office building where his meeting would be held. He was still thinking about what had happened at breakfast. Maya's face kept appearing in his mind, how terrified she had looked, how desperately she had begged him not to drink the coffee. He shook his head, trying to push the thoughts away. Maya had been caught stealing. She had made up a crazy story. That was all. But still, something nagged at him. A small voice in the back of his mind that wouldn't be quiet. Ethan looked down at the coffee cup in the cup holder. Steam was still rising from it. It smelled normal, just coffee the way he liked it. He was being ridiculous. Clara was his wife. She loved him. She would never hurt him. The traffic light turned red and Ethan stopped the car. He reached down and picked up the coffee cup. He brought it to his lips. He took a sip. The coffee was a little bitter but not bad. He took another sip. Then another. Ethan put the cup back in the holder and started driving again when the light turned green. At first, everything seemed fine. He drove 2 more blocks, thinking about his meeting, about the business deals he needed to discuss. But then something felt wrong. His stomach started to hurt. Just a little bit at first, like a small cramp. Ethan frowned. Maybe he was just nervous about the meeting. He drove another block. Now his stomach hurt more. A lot more. It felt like something was twisting inside him. What the? Ethan muttered, pressing his hand against his stomach. His head started to feel strange. Light and floaty, like he was floating in water. Another block. Ethan's vision started to blur. The buildings around him looked fuzzy, like he was looking at them through dirty glass. The lines on the road seemed to move and wiggle like snakes. Something's wrong, he said out loud, his voice sounding far away in his own ears. His hands started shaking on the steering wheel. Sweat broke out on his forehead, even though the car's air conditioning was on. Ethan tried to focus on the road, but everything was spinning now. The street signs, the other cars, the sky, all spinning around and around. His heart started beating too fast. Boom 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 like drums in his chest. Need to pull over. He mumbled. But his arms felt heavy. So heavy. Like they were made of stone. He could barely hold the steering wheel. The coffee cup in the holder caught his eye. Even through his blurry vision he could see it. And suddenly, like a lightning bolt hitting his brain, he understood. Maya had been telling the truth. Clara had poisoned him. No. Ethan whispered. No, no, no. He tried to reach for his phone to call for help, but his hand wouldn't move right. It felt like his whole body was shutting down piece by piece. The car started to drift to the side. Ethan heard horns honking. Someone yelled something. But it all sounded like it was coming from underwater, far away and muffled. His foot slipped off the gas pedal. The car slowed down and rolled to a stop at the side of the road. Ethan's head fell back against the seat. His vision was getting darker now, like someone was slowly turning off the lights. With the last bit of strength he had, he managed to push the button that unlocked his car doors. Maybe someone would see him. Maybe someone would help. Maya was right. He whispered, his voice barely making any sound. Clara poisoned me. And then everything went black. The coffee cup fell from the holder, hitting the floor of the car. Hot coffee spilled everywhere, mixing with drops of something clear and deadly. Outside, people walking on the sidewalk started to notice the expensive car sitting there with its door slightly open. A woman looked inside and screamed. Someone call 911. There's a man in this car. He's not moving. I think he's dying. People rushed over. Someone pulled out their phone and dialed emergency services. We need an ambulance. Quick. There's a man collapsed in his car. He's not responding. Within minutes, sirens filled the air. An ambulance came racing down the street, its red and blue lights flashing. Paramedics jumped out and rushed to Ethan's car. They opened the door wider and checked his pulse. He's alive but barely, one paramedic shouted. Pulse is very weak. Pupils are dilated. Get the stretcher. Now. They carefully lifted Ethan out of the car and onto a stretcher. His expensive suit was soaked with sweat. His face was pale, almost white. Sir, can you hear me? Sir, the paramedic called out, but Ethan didn't respond. They quickly loaded him into the ambulance. One paramedic jumped in back with him while another ran to the driver's seat. What happened to him? Someone in the crowd asked. I don't know, another person answered. He just suddenly collapsed. One of the paramedics noticed the spilled coffee on the car floor. Something made him pause. He grabbed a small evidence bag from his kit and carefully poured some of the spilled coffee into it. What are you doing? His partner asked. Just a feeling, the paramedic said. Something about this doesn't seem right. The way he collapsed so suddenly, it might not be a heart attack. We should test this liquid just in case. The ambulance doors slammed shut, and the vehicle raced away, sirens screaming. Back at the Blake mansion, Clara was in her bedroom, humming happily to herself. She was looking through her closet, choosing which black dress she would wear to Ethan's funeral. The Armani? No, too casual, she muttered to herself. The Versace? Yes, that's perfect. I'll look like a grieving widow but still elegant. Her phone rang. She picked it up without looking at the screen. Yes. Mrs. Blake? This is City General Hospital. There's been an emergency. Your husband was found collapsed in his car. He's been brought to our emergency room. You need to come right away. Clara's eyes went wide. She quickly changed her expression to shock and horror, even though no one could see her. What? Oh my God. Is he alive? He's in critical condition, ma'am. Please come as soon as you can. I'm coming right now. Oh my God, my poor husband. Clara hung up and looked at herself in the mirror. She practiced her worried, crying face a few times. Then she grabbed her purse and her car keys. As she rushed down the stairs, she smiled to herself. This was perfect. Ethan would die in the hospital, surrounded by doctors. Everyone would think it was natural. No one would suspect her. She got in her white sports car and drove toward the hospital, already planning what she would say to the reporters who would definitely show up. After all, when a billionaire dies, it's big news. At that same moment, Maya was standing outside the mansion gates with her small suitcase. The security guards had pushed her out and locked the tall iron gates behind her. She stood there on the sidewalk, not knowing where to go. She had no money, no home, and no job. But worst of all, she had failed to save Mr. Blake. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she looked back at the beautiful mansion. Somewhere in that big house, Mrs. Blake was probably smiling, happy that Maya was gone. Maya started walking slowly down the street, carrying her heavy suitcase. Her feet hurt. Her heart hurt even more. But then she heard something that made her stop. Sirens. Loud, wailing sirens coming from somewhere nearby. Maya's head snapped up. An ambulance raced past her, its lights flashing red and blue. It was going so fast that the wind from it nearly knocked her over. Her blood turned to ice. No. Please no. Without thinking, Maya dropped her suitcase right there on the sidewalk and started running. She ran after the ambulance, her legs pumping as fast as they could go. Please don't let it be him, she prayed as she ran. Please, please, please. But deep in her heart, she knew. She just knew. The ambulance was several blocks ahead now, but Maya could still see its flashing lights. She ran and ran even though her chest hurt and her legs felt like they were on fire. Other people on the street stared at her as she ran past, but Maya didn't care. Nothing mattered except getting to that ambulance. She turned a corner and saw something that made her heart stop completely. Mr. Blake's big black car was parked on the side of the road. The door was wide open. Coffee was spilled all over the ground next to it, and the ambulance was parked right beside it. "No!" Maya screamed. She ran faster, pushing through the crowd of people who had gathered to watch. The paramedics were just closing the ambulance doors. Through the small window, Maya could see Mr. Blake lying on a stretcher. His face was white as paper. His eyes were closed. He wasn't moving. "Wait!" Maya shouted, running toward the ambulance. "Wait, please." But the ambulance started driving away, its sirens screaming. Maya stood in the middle of the street, watching it disappear. She fell to her knees, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "I tried to warn him," she cried. "I tried. Why didn't he listen? Why?" A police officer who had arrived at the scene walked over to her. "Miss, are you all right? Did you know that man?" Maya looked up at him with red, swollen eyes. "That's my boss, Mr. Ethan Blake. His wife poisoned him. I tried to warn him this morning, but nobody believed me." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Poisoned? That's a serious accusation, miss." "I'm not lying." Maya grabbed the officer's arm desperately. "His wife put poison in his coffee. I saw her. She's trying to kill him." The officer looked uncomfortable. He gently pulled his arm away. "Miss, you need to calm down. The man probably had a heart attack. Rich men his age, all that stress." "No," Maya shouted. "It wasn't a heart attack. It was poison. Please, you have to believe me." But the officer was already walking away, shaking his head. He probably thought she was crazy. Maya stood there alone in the street, feeling more helpless than she had ever felt in her entire life. Then she remembered the bottle. She still had the bottle hidden in her boot. And Dr. Peterson. She had promised to meet Maya at the hospital. Maya jumped to her feet and started running again. She ran all the way back to where she had dropped her suitcase. Thank goodness it was still there. She grabbed it and looked around frantically for a taxi. A yellow taxi was driving down the street. Maya jumped in front of it, waving her arms. The taxi stopped and the driver rolled down his window. "Lady, are you trying to get killed?" he yelled. "Please?" Maya begged. "I need to get to City General Hospital. It's an emergency. Please, I'll pay you when we get there." The driver looked at her tear-stained face and sighed. "Get in. But you better not be lying about paying me." "I promise." "Thank you. Thank you so much." Maya jumped into the back seat, clutching her suitcase. Her hands were shaking as she reached inside and pulled out her boot. She checked to make sure the bottle was still there. It was. "Please hurry," she told the driver. "Someone's life depends on it." The taxi driver must have heard something in her voice because he nodded and drove faster. At City General Hospital, everything was chaos in the emergency room. Doctors and nurses ran in every direction as Ethan was rushed in on the stretcher. "Male, approximately 40 years old," one paramedic shouted. "Found collapsed in his vehicle. Weak pulse. Blood pressure dropping. Pupils dilated. Get him to trauma room 3, a doctor yelled. Start in 4. We need to stabilize him." They wheeled Ethan through the crowded emergency room. His body was completely limp like a rag doll. Dr. Sarah Peterson was in her office when she heard the commotion. She looked up from her desk and saw doctors running past her door. "What's going on?" she asked a nurse. "Emergency case, doctor. Very serious. They just brought him in." Something made Dr. Peterson stand up and walk to the door. She looked down the hallway and saw the stretcher being wheeled into trauma room 3. Even from far away, she recognized the man's face. It was Ethan Blake. The same Ethan Blake who had donated millions of dollars to this hospital. The same man whose maid had called her just 30 minutes ago, claiming his wife was trying to poison him. Dr. Peterson's face went pale. "Oh no," she whispered. She ran down the hallway toward the trauma room. "I'm taking over this case," she announced as she burst through the door. The other doctors looked surprised, but they didn't argue. Dr. Peterson was the hospital director. If she wanted to handle a case personally, that was her right. Dr. Peterson snapped on a pair of gloves and moved to Ethan's side. His face was gray and sweat covered his forehead. His breathing was shallow and weak. "What are his symptoms?" she demanded. "Rapid heartbeat, low blood pressure, dilated pupils, sweating, possible seizures," a nurse rattled off. Dr. Peterson's mind raced. Those were classic symptoms of poisoning, not a heart attack. "I need a full toxicology screen immediately," she ordered. "Test for everything, common poisons, heavy metals, plant toxins, everything." Doctor, shouldn't we focus on stabilizing him first? Another doctor asked. We are stabilizing him, but I need to know what we're dealing with. Dr. Peterson said firmly. If this is what I think it is, standard heart attack treatment won't work. It might even make things worse. She turned to a nurse. Did the paramedics bring anything from the scene? The nurse held up a small plastic bag. Inside was some of the spilled coffee from Ethan's car. Yes, doctor. One of the paramedics had a feeling something was wrong. He collected this. Smart man. Send it to the lab right now. Tell them it's priority 1. I want results in 30 minutes, not 3 hours. The nurse ran out of the room with the bag. Dr. Peterson looked down at Ethan's pale face. Hold on, Mr. Blake, she whispered. Just hold on. Help is coming. Maya's taxi pulled up to the hospital's emergency entrance 15 minutes later. She thrust some crumpled dollar bills at the driver, all the money she had in the world, and jumped out before he could even count it. She ran through the automatic doors, her suitcase banging against her legs. Dr. Peterson, she called out to a nurse at the front desk. I need to see Dr. Sarah Peterson. She's expecting me. The nurse looked annoyed. Miss, this is an emergency room. We're very busy. You can't just. Please. Maya shouted, slamming her hand on the desk. A man is dying. I have evidence. Dr. Peterson told me to come here. The nurse picked up the phone, clearly just trying to get rid of this crazy girl. Security, we have a situation at the front. I'm here. Everyone turned. Dr. Peterson was standing in the hallway, still wearing her gloves and hospital coat. Her face was serious and tired. It's all right, she told the nurse. I know her. Maya, come with me. Now. Maya grabbed her suitcase and followed Dr. Peterson down a long hallway, away from the crowded emergency room. They went into a small, quiet office and Dr. Peterson closed the door. You were right, Dr. Peterson said, her voice heavy. Ethan Blake was just brought in. He collapsed in his car. He's in critical condition. Maya's legs gave out. She sat down hard on a chair, her whole body shaking. Is he going to die? I don't know yet. We're running tests. But Maya, I need that bottle you told me about. Do you have it? With trembling hands, Maya opened her suitcase and pulled out her boot. She reached inside and carefully pulled out the small dark bottle. Dr. Peterson took it, holding it up to the light. There was still clear liquid inside. This is what his wife was going to use? She asked. Maya nodded. Yes. I saw her put something in his coffee this morning. This bottle was on the kitchen counter. And I heard her on the phone talking to someone. She said Mr. Blake would be dead by midnight. She said everyone would think it was a heart attack. Dr. Peterson's jaw tightened. She almost succeeded. If you hadn't called me, if I hadn't ordered those toxicology tests. She shook her head. We need to test this liquid immediately. Dr. Peterson rushed out of her office with the bottle, calling for a lab technician. Maya followed close behind her, still clutching her suitcase. I need this tested immediately, Dr. Peterson said, handing the bottle to a young man in a white coat. Compare it to the coffee sample from the car. I need to know exactly what's in both of them. The technician nodded and ran toward the laboratory. Maya stood in the hallway, feeling lost and scared. Can I see him? Can I see Mr. Blake? Dr. Peterson looked at her kindly. Not right now. He's unconscious and we're doing everything we can to keep him alive. But Maya, I need you to do something very important for me. Anything, Maya said immediately. I need you to write down everything you saw and heard today. Every detail, no matter how small. When Mrs. Blake gets here, and she will get here, I need to have all the facts ready. She's coming here? Maya's eyes went wide with fear. Yes. The hospital called her. She's his wife, so we have to notify her. But don't worry. You're safe here. I won't let anything happen to you. Dr. Peterson took Maya to a small waiting room and gave her paper and a pen. Maya sat down and started writing with shaking hands. She wrote about seeing the bottle in the kitchen. She wrote about hearing Clara on the phone. She wrote about the message on Clara's phone screen. She wrote everything she could remember. Her hands were still shaking so badly that her handwriting looked like a child's scribbles. But she kept writing. This might be the only chance to save Mr. Blake's life. 20 minutes later, Clara Blake arrived at the hospital. She walked through the emergency room doors wearing designer sunglasses and a concerned expression. Her high heels clicked loudly on the hospital floor. Several people turned to look at her. She was so beautiful and elegant, even in her distress. Where is my husband? Clara asked the nurse at the front desk, her voice trembling perfectly. Where is Ethan Blake? I got a call that he collapsed. Mrs. Blake, please come with me, the nurse said. Clara followed the nurse down the hallway, looking around at everything. She needed to know which room Ethan was in. She needed to find a way to get to him alone. The nurse led her to a small waiting area. Dr. Peterson will be with you shortly to discuss your husband's condition. I want to see him now, Clara demanded, letting some real emotion show. She needed to see Ethan. She needed to know if he was still alive or if her plan had worked. I'm sorry, Mrs. Blake. He's in critical care. The doctors are working on him. Dr. Peterson will explain everything. Clara sat down in the waiting area, tapping her foot impatiently. She pulled out her phone and sent a quick text message. He's in the hospital. Not sure if it worked yet. We'll update soon. She looked up and down the hallway thinking. If Ethan was still alive, he might wake up. He might tell the doctors what happened. She needed to make sure that didn't happen. Clara reached into her expensive purse. Hidden in a secret pocket was another small vial. Just in case. In the laboratory, the technician was working as fast as he could. He had the coffee sample from Ethan's car in one test tube and the liquid from the bottle Maya had found in another test tube. He ran them through the testing machines, his eyes glued to the computer screen showing the results. His eyes went wide. Oh my God, he whispered. He picked up the phone and called Dr. Peterson immediately. Doctor, you need to see these results. Right now. Dr. Peterson was in the trauma room, still monitoring Ethan. His condition had stabilized a little bit, but he was still unconscious and in danger. When her phone rang, she stepped outside to answer it. What did you find? She asked the lab technician. Doctor, both samples contain the same substance. It's a slow-acting poison called oleander extract. It's from a toxic plant. It causes symptoms that look exactly like a heart attack. Irregular heartbeat, low blood pressure, confusion, collapse. Most doctors wouldn't think to test for it. Dr. Peterson felt her blood run cold. Are you absolutely sure? 100% sure, doctor. And there's more. The concentration in the bottle is much higher than what was in the coffee. Whoever prepared this knew exactly what they were doing. They were trying to kill him. How long does he have? Dr. Peterson asked quietly. If we don't treat him soon, maybe a few hours. But doctor, we now know what the poison is. We can give him the antidote. We can save him. Dr. Peterson felt a wave of relief wash over her. Prepare the antidote immediately. I'll administer it myself. She hung up and rushed back into the trauma room. We know what it is, she told the other doctors. Oleander poisoning. We need to start treatment right now. The medical team jumped into action. They brought out special medications and began administering them through Ethan's 4. Dr. Peterson stood by his bedside, watching the monitors carefully. Come on, Mr. Blake, she whispered. Fight. You have to fight. In the small waiting room, Maya had finished writing her statement. Her hand hurt from writing so fast, but she had gotten everything down. She stood up and looked out into the hallway. That's when she saw her. Clara Blake was sitting in the waiting area just down the hall. Maya's heart started pounding. She quickly stepped back into the room, pressing herself against the wall. If Clara saw her, there was no telling what might happen. But Maya could see Clara through the small window in the door. She watched as Clara looked around nervously, checking her phone, looking up and down the hallway like she was waiting for something. Then Maya saw something that made her blood freeze. Clara reached into her purse and pulled out a small vial. It looked exactly like the bottle Maya had found in the kitchen. Clara held it in her hand, hidden from view, and stood up. She was going to try again. She was going to try to poison Mr. Blake right here in the hospital. Maya's mind raced. What could she do? If she screamed, Clara might run away and no one would believe Maya. She needed proof. She needed someone in authority to see what Clara was doing. Maya looked around the small waiting room desperately. There was a phone on the wall. She grabbed it and dialed 0 for the hospital operator. This is an emergency, Maya said in a loud whisper. Get Dr. Peterson. Tell her Maya says Mrs. Blake has another vial. She's going to try again. Tell her to come now. What? Miss, I don't understand. Just tell her. Maya almost shouted, then hung up. She looked back through the window. Clara was walking down the hallway now, moving toward the trauma rooms. She was looking for Ethan's room. Maya knew she had to do something. She couldn't just stand here and let it happen. Taking a deep breath, Maya opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Her legs were shaking, but she forced herself to walk toward Clara. Mrs. Blake, Maya called out. Clara spun around. When she saw Maya, her face went white, then red with anger. You. Clara hissed. What are you doing here? I had you thrown out. I came to make sure Mr. Blake is okay, Maya said, her voice stronger than she felt. I was worried about him. Clara's eyes narrowed dangerously. You have no right to be here. Security. But Maya stood her ground. She had to keep Clara away from Ethan's room until Dr. Peterson arrived. I know what you did, Mrs. Blake. I know you poisoned him. And soon everyone else will know too. Clara took a step closer to Maya, her face twisted with rage. You stupid girl. You don't know anything. And even if you did, who would believe a maid over me? I would, a strong voice said from behind Clara. Both women turned. Dr. Peterson was standing there, and she wasn't alone. 2 security guards were with her, along with a hospital security officer. Clara's face went pale. She quickly tried to hide the vial in her hand, pushing it back into her purse. Mrs. Blake, Dr. Peterson said calmly, I'm going to need you to show me what's in your hand. I don't know what you're talking about, Clara said, her voice shaking slightly. But she gripped her purse tighter. We received a report that you're carrying a suspicious substance. Given that your husband was poisoned earlier today, I think we have the right to check. Poisoned? Clara gasped, her hand flying to her chest in fake shock. What are you talking about? Ethan had a heart attack. No, Mrs. Blake. He was poisoned with oleander extract. A very specific poison that most people wouldn't know how to use. But someone with knowledge of toxic plants would. Clara's face went even paler. That's ridiculous. I would never. Then you won't mind showing us your purse? Dr. Peterson interrupted. This is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer. Clara clutched her purse to her chest. The security officer stepped forward. Ma'am, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Your choice. Clara looked around wildly. Maya was blocking one direction. Dr. Peterson and the security guards were blocking the other. There was nowhere to run. For a moment, Clara's mask slipped completely. Her beautiful face twisted into something ugly and hateful. Her eyes locked onto Maya with pure rage. This is all your fault, Clara spat at Maya. Everything was perfect until you interfered. So you admit it? Dr. Peterson asked quietly. You admit you tried to poison your husband? Clara realized her mistake too late. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The security officer stepped forward and held out his hand. Mrs. Blake, I'm going to need that purse. Now. Clara's hands were shaking. She looked around one more time as if hoping someone would come rescue her. But there was no one. Slowly, she opened her purse and pulled out the small vial. The clear liquid inside caught the light from the ceiling. I was just... Clara started, but she couldn't finish the sentence. There was no good explanation for why she would be carrying poison into a hospital. The security officer took the vial carefully, holding it by the edges. We'll be testing this, he said. And if it matches what was used on Mr. Blake, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. I want my lawyer, Clara said, her voice suddenly cold and hard. All the fake sweetness was gone now. I'm not saying another word without my lawyer. That's your right, Dr. Peterson said. But you're not going anywhere near my patient. Security, please escort Mrs. Blake to a private waiting room and make sure she stays there. The 2 security guards took Clara by the arms. She tried to pull away, but they held her firmly. As they led her past Maya, Clara stopped and turned her head. Her eyes locked onto Maya's, and for just a second, Maya saw pure hatred there. You've ruined everything, Clara whispered, her voice like ice. Everything. Maya didn't look away. I saved a good man's life, she said quietly. That's all I did. Clara was led away, her high heels clicking angrily on the floor. Even now, she held her head high, like a queen being taken prisoner. When she was gone, Maya felt her legs go weak. She grabbed the wall to keep from falling. Dr. Peterson put a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder. You did the right thing. You were very brave. Is Mr. Blake going to be okay? Maya asked, her voice small. Dr. Peterson smiled. We know what the poison is now, thanks to you. We're giving him the antidote. His chances are much, much better. But he's not out of danger yet. The next few hours are critical. Maya nodded, tears streaming down her face again. But this time they were tears of relief mixed with worry. Can I wait here? To see if he'll be okay? Of course, Dr. Peterson said kindly. Come. Let me get you some water and a comfortable place to sit. The police arrived at the hospital 30 minutes later. Dr. Peterson met them at the entrance and explained everything. The poison, the vials, Clara's confession in the hallway. 2 detectives went to interview Clara while others began collecting evidence. They took the vial Clara had been carrying. They took the bottle Maya had found. They photographed the spilled coffee from Ethan's car. They took Maya's written statement. One detective, a kind-looking woman named Detective Harris, sat down with Maya in a quiet room. "Tell me everything from the beginning," Detective Harris said gently. "Don't leave anything out." Maya told her the whole story. About seeing Clara put something in the coffee. About the bottle in the kitchen. About the message on Clara's phone. About hearing Clara talk on the phone about her plan. Detective Harris wrote it all down carefully. "You're very observant," she told Maya when the story was finished. "And very brave. Most people would have looked the other way." "I couldn't let her hurt him," Maya said simply. "Mr. Blake is a good man. He didn't deserve to die." "No, he didn't," Detective Harris agreed. "Thanks to you he probably won't. You saved his life, Maya." In the private waiting room where Clara was being held, things were not going well for her. The detective questioning her was a stern man named Detective Martinez. He had been a police officer for 25 years and had seen every kind of criminal there was. He knew Clara's type immediately. "Mrs. Blake," he said sitting across from her, "we have the poison you were carrying. We have the poison from your kitchen. We have your fingerprints on the coffee cup. We have a witness who heard you planning this on the phone. We have your own words from the hallway, captured on the hospital's security cameras." Clara sat with her arms crossed, her face like stone. "I'm not saying anything without my lawyer." "That's fine," Detective Martinez said calmly. "But let me tell you what's going to happen. Those lab results are going to come back, and they're going to show that both vials contain the same poison. Your husband's blood tests will show that same poison. And when he wakes up, and he will wake up, he's going to tell us that you made him coffee this morning. The coffee that nearly killed him." Clara's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. "We're also going to look into your finances," the detective continued. "We're going to look at your phone records, your computer, your bank accounts, and I'm willing to bet we're going to find a lot of interesting things. Maybe evidence of an affair? A gambling problem? Debts we don't know about?" Clara's eye twitched slightly, but she kept her mouth shut. Detective Martinez stood up. "You can wait for your lawyer. But Mrs. Blake, you need to understand something. We have you. It's over. The only question now is whether you're going to make this easy or hard on yourself." He walked to the door, then paused and looked back at her. "Your husband almost died today. A young woman with nothing to gain and everything to lose risked her job, her safety, and her reputation to save him. While you, his own wife, the person who promised to love and protect him, tried to murder him for money." Clara's perfect makeup was starting to run as sweat formed on her forehead. But she still said nothing. "We'll talk again when your lawyer arrives," Detective Martinez said and left the room. A police officer stood outside the door, making sure Clara didn't try to leave. In the trauma room, Ethan was slowly starting to respond to treatment. His heart rate was becoming more regular. His blood pressure was starting to rise. His breathing was getting stronger. Dr. Peterson stood by his bedside, checking his vital signs every few minutes. The antidote was working. Slowly, but it was working. "Doctor," one of the nurses said, "his eyes are moving. I think he might be waking up." Dr. Peterson leaned closer. "Mr. Blake? Can you hear me? You're in the hospital. You're safe now." Ethan's eyelids fluttered. Then slowly they opened. His eyes were unfocused at first, confused. Where?" He tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. "Don't try to talk yet," Dr. Peterson said gently. "You've been through a lot. Just rest. You're going to be okay." But Ethan grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. His eyes focused on her face and she could see the fear and confusion in them. "Maya," he whispered, his voice rough. "Maya, she was right. Clara poisoned me." Dr. Peterson nodded. "We know. Maya saved your life, Mr. Blake. She brought us evidence. She refused to give up on you even when no one believed her." Tears formed in Ethan's eyes. I didn't believe her. She tried to warn me, and I threw her out." "She's here," Dr. Peterson said softly. "She's been waiting to see if you're okay. Would you like to see her?" Ethan nodded weakly. "Please. I need to apologize. I need to thank her." Dr. Peterson squeezed his hand. "Rest for a few more minutes. Let us make sure you're stable. Then I'll bring her in." Maya was sitting in the waiting area, her head in her hands. She was exhausted. Her whole body ached. But she couldn't leave. Not until she knew Mr. Blake was going to be okay. A young nurse approached her. "Excuse me? Are you Maya?" Maya looked up quickly. "Yes. Is Mr. Blake?" "He's awake," the nurse said with a smile. And he's asking for you. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. He's awake? He's really going to be okay? It looks that way. Dr. Peterson says you can see him now. But just for a few minutes. He's still very weak. Maya stood up so fast she almost knocked over her chair. She followed the nurse through the hallways, her heart pounding. They stopped outside the trauma room. Through the window, Maya could see Mr. Blake lying in the bed. He looked pale and tired, but his eyes were open. He was alive. Go ahead, the nurse said, opening the door. Maya walked in slowly, suddenly feeling shy and nervous. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know if he was angry at her for all the trouble she'd caused. But then Ethan turned his head and saw her. And even though he was weak, even though he could barely move, he smiled. Maya, he whispered. She walked to his bedside, tears already starting to fall. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry I caused such a scene this morning. I know you told me to leave, but I couldn't. Stop, Ethan said gently, raising one shaking hand. Please. Don't apologize. He took a deep breath, and Maya could see how much effort it took him to speak. You tried to save my life, and I didn't believe you. I called you a liar. I threw you out of my house. I'm the one who should be apologizing. No, sir. Yes, Ethan insisted. Maya, you risked everything for me. Your job, your home, your safety. You had every reason to walk away and let me face the consequences of my own stupid decisions. But you didn't. You fought for me even when I didn't deserve it. Maya was crying so hard now she could barely see. You're a good man, sir. You've always been kind to me. I couldn't let you die. I just couldn't. Ethan's own eyes were wet with tears. Dr. Peterson told me everything. How you found the poison. How you called the hospital. How you confronted Clara even though you were terrified. Maya, you're the bravest person I've ever met. I was just doing what was right, Maya said quietly. No, Ethan shook his head slightly. You did what was right even when it was hard. Even when it cost you everything. That's not just doing what's right. That's being a hero. Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. You need to rest, sir. You've been through so much. I will, Ethan said. But first I need to know. Are you okay? Do you have somewhere to go? I know I had you fired. Maya looked down at her hands. I'll be okay, sir. I'll find something. No, Ethan said firmly, even though his voice was still weak. You won't need to find something. When I get out of this hospital, you're coming back. Not as a maid, Maya. Never as a maid again. Maya looked up, confused. Sir? You saved my life. You showed me something I had forgotten. That real loyalty, real goodness has nothing to do with money or status. It comes from the heart. Ethan's voice grew stronger as he spoke. I want to help you, Maya. I want to send you to school. I want you to have a real education, a real future. You deserve so much more than cleaning floors. Sir, I don't know what to say, Maya whispered, fresh tears streaming down her face. Say yes, Ethan smiled weakly. Please. It would make me very happy. Maya nodded, unable to speak. Her heart felt like it might burst with gratitude and relief. Dr. Peterson knocked gently on the door. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Mr. Blake needs to rest now. His body has been through a tremendous shock. Maya nodded and stood up. I'll let you rest, sir. Maya, Ethan called as she reached the door. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Maya smiled through her tears. Thank you for being worth saving, sir. Over the next few weeks, things moved quickly. The lab results came back confirming that both vials contained oleander extract, a deadly poison. The concentration was high enough to kill a grown man within hours. The police searched the Blake mansion and found more evidence. In Clara's private office, hidden in a locked drawer, they found documents that revealed her true plans. She had been having an affair with a man named Richard Stone, a businessman who had helped her prepare false documents. If Ethan died, everything he owned would go to Clara. She had already forged papers to transfer his money to secret bank accounts that only she could access. The police also found Clara's computer search history. She had been researching poisons for months. She had looked up which poisons were hardest to detect. She had read about how to make deaths look like natural causes. She planned this for a long time, Detective Harris told Ethan and Maya. This wasn't a sudden decision. She was very careful, very calculating. Why? Maya asked. Mr. Blake gave her everything. A beautiful home, money, a good life. Why would she want to kill him? Greed, Detective Harris said simply. Some people always want more. And some people are willing to do terrible things to get it. The news spread across the entire city like wildfire. Rich, beautiful Clara Blake had tried to murder her billionaire husband for his money. Reporters crowded outside the hospital and the courthouse. Camera crews filmed everything. Newspapers put Clara's picture on the front page with headlines that screamed, "Beauty and betrayal," and "Billionaire's wife caught in murder plot." But through it all, Maya stayed quiet. She didn't talk to reporters. She didn't want attention or fame. She just wanted Mr. Blake to get better and for justice to be served. 3 months later, Clara's trial began. The courtroom was packed with people. Reporters filled the back rows, their pens ready. Citizens who had followed the story came to watch. And sitting in the front row were Ethan and Maya. Clara was brought in wearing an orange prison jumpsuit, her hands in handcuffs. Gone was the beautiful, elegant woman who had once ruled the mansion like a queen. Her hair was pulled back plainly. She wore no makeup. She looked tired and defeated. But when she saw Ethan sitting there alive and healthy, her eyes flashed with anger. The prosecutor presented all the evidence. The poison bottles with Clara's fingerprints. The search history on her computer. The forged documents. The secret bank accounts. The messages with her lover, Richard Stone, discussing how they would split Ethan's fortune after he died. Maya was called to testify. She walked to the witness stand with shaking legs, but her voice was steady and clear as she told the court everything she had seen and heard that terrible morning. She poured something into his coffee cup, Maya said, looking directly at the jury. "I saw it with my own eyes." And then she smiled, this cold, terrible smile, and called him to come drink it. When Ethan took the stand, the courtroom went completely silent. "My wife didn't just try to kill my body," he said quietly. "She killed my ability to trust. She made me doubt a good person who was trying to save my life. Because of my blindness, because I believed her lies instead of Maya's truth, I almost died." He looked at Clara, who sat stone-faced at the defense table. "I gave you everything," Ethan continued, his voice breaking slightly. "My love, my trust, my entire life. And you repaid me with poison." Clara's lawyer tried to argue that she had been manipulated by Richard Stone, that she wasn't thinking clearly, that she deserved mercy. But the jury didn't believe it. After only 4 hours of deliberation, they came back with their verdict. Guilty on all counts. Clara's face went white. She tried to stand up, but her legs wouldn't hold her. She collapsed back into her chair as the judge began to speak. "Clara Blake," the judge said sternly, "you have been found guilty of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit fraud, and possession of illegal substances with intent to harm. These are serious crimes that show a complete disregard for human life and the law." The judge looked at Clara over his glasses. "You tried to kill your husband, a man who loved you and provided for you, simply because you wanted his money. You planned it carefully, coldly, without remorse. And when a brave young woman tried to stop you, you tried to destroy her reputation to cover your crimes." He paused, letting his words sink in. "This court sentences you to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole for the first 15 years. Gasps filled the courtroom. Clara started crying, but they weren't real tears. Even now, she was trying to manipulate people's emotions. "Take her away," the judge ordered. Guards came and led Clara out of the courtroom. As she passed by Ethan and Maya, she stopped and turned to look at them one final time. "I hope you're happy," she spat at Maya, all pretense of innocence gone. "You took everything from me." Maya looked at her calmly. "No, ma'am. You took everything from yourself. I just made sure you didn't take Mr. Blake's life too." Clara was dragged away, screaming and crying fake tears. When she was gone, the courtroom erupted in noise. Reporters rushed to ask questions. People congratulated Ethan and Maya. But Ethan just turned to Maya and smiled. "It's over," he said softly. "Finally, it's over." 6 months after the trial, Maya stood in front of a mirror in her new apartment, adjusting her backpack. It was her first day of college. After the trial ended, Ethan had kept his promise. He had enrolled Maya in one of the best universities in the city. He had paid for everything: tuition, books, a small but comfortable apartment near campus, and a monthly allowance so she could focus on studying instead of working. "You saved my life," Ethan had told her when she tried to refuse. "Let me help give you the life you deserve." Maya had cried and accepted. How could she not? This was the opportunity she had dreamed about but never thought she'd have. There was a knock on her apartment door. Maya opened it to find Ethan standing there holding a small gift bag. "Mr. Blake," Maya said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to wish you good luck on your first day," Ethan said with a warm smile. He looked so much healthier now than he had in the hospital. His face had color again. His eyes were bright and happy. He had even started smiling more. You didn't have to come all this way, Maya said, but she was smiling too. Of course I did. This is a big day. He handed her the gift bag. Here. A little something for your first day of school. Maya opened it and gasped. Inside was a beautiful new laptop computer and a leather bag to carry it in. Sir, this is too much. Maya, Ethan interrupted gently, how many times do I have to tell you? Stop calling me sir. We're friends now. And friends help each other. Maya smiled, tears in her eyes. Okay, Ethan. Thank you. For everything. Ethan's expression became serious. No, Maya. Thank you. You taught me something very important. You taught me that the world judges people by their money and status, but true character is measured by what someone does when it costs them everything. He paused, his voice full of emotion. You had nothing to gain and everything to lose, but you still did the right thing. You're the bravest, most honest person I know. And I'm honored to call you my friend. Maya hugged him tightly. I'm honored to call you my friend too. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. Now go, Ethan said, wiping his eyes. You don't want to be late on your first day. And Maya? Study hard. Dream big. The world needs more people like you. Maya nodded, shouldering her new backpack. I will. I promise. As she walked toward the bus stop that would take her to campus, Maya looked back one more time. Ethan was still standing by her apartment building, waving. She waved back, her heart full of gratitude and hope. Maya had started as a maid that nobody noticed. She had been scared and small in a world that seemed too big and dangerous. But when it mattered most, she had found the courage to speak up. To stand up. To do what was right even when it was terrifying. She had saved a good man's life. And in return, he had helped her save her own future. As Maya climbed onto the bus and took a seat by the window, she thought about how much had changed in just a few short months. Clara was in prison, paying for her terrible crimes. Ethan was healing both physically and emotionally, learning to trust again. And Maya was going to college, chasing dreams she had never thought possible. The bus pulled away from the curb, carrying Maya toward her new life. She smiled to herself, looking out at the city passing by. Sometimes the smallest voice can make the biggest difference. Sometimes courage comes from the most unexpected places. And sometimes when you save someone's life, you end up saving your own. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.